Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. Today's topic is going to be on doing my annual reset and setting up my stack for 2026. What I'm going to do today is take you through my 5 main planners, and then I'm going to talk you through what I use them for and how I use them, and then I'm going to go into a couple of the other tasks that I do as part of my annual reset. So I ordered this planner from the Happy Planner, and it is a custom planner. It's the Twilight Textures cover and dividers, and what I've done is I've gone through and I've added several different sections to it to fit with what it is I need to plan. And I use this every year to plan out my personal time, my work time, any of my creative projects and my goals, plus a few extra things that I've added in. So I'm going to very quickly go through this to show you what I do in here. I have a series of dashboards in here that I use to find areas quickly. The first one is the future log, and this is where I put in any public holidays, any days off, any plans that I have, any birthdays, anniversaries, etc. all go into this perpetual calendar here each year, so I can keep track of where they all are. I have a section here for lists, and I have 7 lists over 2 pages, and these are all fresh and ready to go for 2026. Behind the third dashboard in the series I have notes, and this is note paper out of one of the Happy Planner notebooks that I also have, and it's there for if I need to suddenly scribble down some notes. Then I have this, you can't really see it on the calendar, but I have a clear tab up here, and that will turn me directly to wherever my current week is. And I just have it set here at the first week of January, ready to go. This is my personal time and task management system. I'm using a dashboard layout for this. So it has some general week relevant tasks and notes over here, and then it has the days of the week all separated out over here. The next section of my top tabs is goals. I have my yearly goals set up in here. I have some 90-day goals for the first 3 months of 2026, and in fact for the next 3 months of 2026, so all the way till June. And I have my sleep tracker pages stashed here. My next tab is my creative tab, and again behind this clear tab here where I have a little stencil. This is a student or a colour block layout from the Happy Planner, and I mark out each of my creative tasks that I have down here the side, and I allocate it to a particular night. And then we turn to the final divider, and that is my work calendar, and I don't have a tab here yet. And in my work calendar I'm currently using a horizontal layout, but that could change because I've changed it about 5 times since I started using it. But at the moment I'm using a horizontal layout for my work tasks and appointments and meetings. So that is my planner setup. I have a full-length video that shows how I put this together. The next notebook off the stack is my daily planner. This is a Sterling Ink A5 full year daily planner for 2026. I recently did a video where I unboxed this and went through and discussed what it was I was going to use each spread for. I wasn't quite sure about some of the items, and I said I was going to come back and do a video on what I was going to use them for, so I'm going to very quickly go through that now. This is in the tweed colour with gold edges. So the first year at a glance, I've gone through and separated out the year into 13 4-week cycles, and that is for my financial tracking. I get paid every fortnight, and I found it very difficult to track whether I'm meeting my budget or under it or over it when I have to do my tracking according to the month. So 2025 I trialed out the cycle tracking system, and it's working really well, so I'm going to do that next year. And I have all of the cycle dates, start and finish, written down over here, ready to transfer those into the spreadsheet that I do for my finances. But over the page, and this is the double spread that you get in pretty much every Sterling Ink journal. Other people use it for things like vision boards, words of the year, various other pieces of content, but I decided that I was going to separate each page into quadrants, and I'm going to use these for what I put here as 8 great days, but it could be 8 great events, 8 great memories, anything like that. Over the page is the annual tracker, and I decided this was going to be my health tracker for health symptoms that I can't control. So I've written down on the side here what it is I'm going to track. I've got them all listed here as well. Over the page is into the quarterly trackers. Now in the common planner you get another page on the left here that you can use to set out your quarterly goals, and then you have your quarterly trackers matching on this side. But for the daily planner you just get the trackers, which is great for me because I never really figured out what to do with that left hand side. So here I'm going to track the things that I can control, and I have all the things worded in a way that putting a mark in the diary is a good thing. I've had to word a couple of the things in a negative manner. So for example, the things in the affirmative are things like get ready for bed between 8 and 9, get 15 minutes of sun. But the things in a negative are things like no buying takeaways and no buying books. So when I look at this for the year, it should be quite full of marks. When I look at this one for the year, the emptier the better. So over the page to the monthly tracker, and I had a number of things that I wrote down as ideas of what to use this for, and I've decided on using it for that top one there, the dinner diary. I thought it would be quite useful to know what we're having for dinner each night. Now, I don't track my food down to a fine level of detail, but I do like to know when I'm having red meat, when I'm having processed meat, when we are buying takeaways, and what we're having for those takeaways. It's really useful information that I've thought about tracking this year but never really got around to it. I think it will be really useful for next year. Getting closer to the main event of this journal is going into the first month, which is January, and each month has on the left hand side one full blank page for the month, and that can be used for example, if you're bullet journaling, you could write down all the dates of the month down here and then write down what you have planned for those. Because I'm not using it for that, I'm going to use it for what have I got written here? I'm going to use it kind of as a currently page, like what am I currently reading, listening to, watching. And I also want to go back to doing a photo of the month, which I used to do when I was bullet journaling. But here we are onto the main purpose of this notebook, and that is for daily journaling. So I used to do some time tracking a wee while ago, but I found that I wasn't using it, and I did use it for the first year or so, and then I stopped using it. I didn't need it. But I have recently found that it would be quite useful to know what I was spending my time on again. So because there is a convenient little timeline down here, so it goes from 6 till 12, I thought it would be a good idea to do some time tracking again. So I've divided this page into a third and 2/3, and I can write down some time tracking in this column here. And that leaves plenty of room to just do my normal journaling each day. There's even room for a photo or two. So at the end of each month, there is a 2-page spread. I looked at several options for this. I thought it might be nice to go through all my photos each month, pull out a bit of a selection, put it together into a little arrangement in Canva, print it out and stick it in here, and then I have a monthly record. And the very final thing that I'm going to put in here is my sleep tracker. So the sleep tracker that you just saw me look at in my disc planner. Each month I will photocopy that down to an A5 size and I will glue it in here. So I have a permanent record of my sleep tracker in this journal as well. The next journal on the stack is not a new one. This is one that I've been keeping for the last 2 years. It is my 5-year diary. Once again, this is a Sterling Ink product. They've just re-released the next version of this and they've zhuzhed it up a little bit. I used to do a lot of long form journaling way back from when I was about 15, but every now and again I put it aside and don't bother doing it. But I decided to try out 5-year diarying, which gives you a small space on each page to just write a few notes each day. That's what kicked off my wanting to do long form journaling again. But this diary is really useful to compare what I'm doing this year when I'm filling it out, and I compare to what I was doing in the previous years. So 2026 will be my 3rd year in this diary, and I think this is when I'm really going to see the benefits of being able to reflect back on where I was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, etc. So that's all of the notebooks that I use on a daily basis. But the next journal that I use on a reasonably frequent basis is my reading journal. I update this every month on this channel, and what I used to do many moons ago, all the trendy things that others do in their reading journals. So I used to do a read the rainbow, genre tracking. I used to note when I started a book and when I finished a book, but I realized that I really didn't care about any of those things. All I wanted to do was note down what books I read and what I thought of them. I think it's more of a reading log than a reading journal. This year I really simplified my journal. I had some basic goals, I had some monthly themes that I set up, and then I set up a book bracket and a book matrix, which is yet to come. And really all this is 2 different methods to figure out what my favourite book of the year is, and I will do a video on that I'll release in the new year. Now I could add more things into my reading journal, but it would be just so I could be trendy and so I could film it and make my book journal videos more exciting and get more viewers. But when I started up this channel, I promised myself I was only going to film what I actually do, and I'm not going to pretend to do something just for the sake of making a video more appealing. This is the extent of my fancy layouts each year. I also do a list of all the books that I've read for the year, and this year I did waterfall tabs for that, so I can find it reasonably easily. This is probably the most spectacular spread. This is my October book challenge that I took part in. I do have a video on that. And then you just straight into January, and all I do is a to be read list on the narrow side, and then the book covers and the book review on the left hand side in this case. And then it turns over to February, and I have my to be read list on the left hand side in this case, and then the books on this side. So I have enough room in this notebook. This is an Archer and Olive 8x8 notebook, very popular for reading journals. And I've got it all set up ready to go for 2026, and I will be putting that video up probably in the next few weeks. And the last notebook that is in my main planner stack is my Commonplace book. Now I set this up in mid-2025, and as a reminder, a journal is where you note down your own words and thoughts. A Commonplace book is where you note down other people's. So I've set up my key at the front here, song lyrics, book quotes, movie quotes, notes and lists, and then I have a miscellaneous, of course, down the bottom. And I have started filling it out, and there's a few more entries in it, and I'm steadily adding to it. This notebook is a Leuchterm 1917 Rising Sun. It is a dot grid layout. An important part of the system reset is to archive any material that I want to keep. So when you have a bound notebook, they're easy enough to archive. They just get put on the shelf as they are. But disc planners are another system altogether. It's just a bunch of paper held together by this funky little disc system. But the great beauty of disc planning is that I can keep what I want and throw the rest out. At the moment I'm keeping everything, so I'm transferring everything out of my 2025 disc planner into one of these two booklets that I've made up. Now these are just cheap plastic discs that I bought off Amazon, I think. They're a little bit horrible to use on a day-to-day basis, but for an archive they're perfect because all they have to do is hold the pieces of paper together. So all I did was print out a couple of cover pages, cut and punch them. I have some frosted plastic that I salvaged from some reports at work that were being recycled. I also have some backing card that I rescued from the same ports. I just printed out the covers, cut everything down to size, punched it, and then put it all together in these booklets. And if I decide at a future date that I don't need any of this material anymore, I can just take it all off the discs and recycle it. Another part of my reset system is to redo my cleaning planner. Now again, I did a full length video on how I set up my cleaning system and how I put together this cleaning planner. It's just a half-sized classic, closer to a traveler's journal size, and I have it held together by these mini discs. So at the moment it still has quite a bit of material in it from this year, so I'll wait till this year's finished before I remove that and recycle it. But it's all set up ready to go for next year. Instead of hand doing all the tables, I chose to print them. So I have all my tables here with all my monthly, biannual tasks, etc. I still have my cleaning schedule by month that I set up, and I still have the tasks separated according to frequency, so weekly, fortnightly, etc. So that's all ready to go for next year. So that's it. That's my notebook stack for 2026. Hope you've enjoyed that. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.